you to speak your mind. This show is for the faithful.
Touchdown! Touchdown!
Dub Nation.
Bang! Steph Curry again!
And the seam heads that bleed orange and black.
Goodbye!
This is Sportsphone KNBR. Sponsored by Industrial Metal Supply on the Sports Leader. Check the live stream on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Stereo got an RBI single in the seventh, and he drives one into deep center field. Going back, McRae onto the warning track near the wall. He slows and makes the catch. And the Giants have defeated the Milwaukee Brewers for their fourth win in the last 6 games, and they have evened up this series at a game apiece. And for the Giants, a rare laugher. The Giants 13, the Brewers 2.
Yeah, a rare blowout victory for the Giants. No drama, no one-run game, no night of frustration for being unable to hit with runners in scoring position. Giants get 4 in the first, 4 in the second. It's 8-0 after the first 2 innings. It's 10-1, and then 11-1 before the Brewers get on the board for their second run. The Giants add on even more in the bottom of the 8th. It all adds up to a 13-2 victory over the Brewers, as you heard the call there from John Miller. Here on KNBR, we welcome you into Sportsphone KNBR on a Wednesday night. Here it's John Dickinson with you for the next hour to 90 minutes. We'll see how things go via the phone lines. 808-KNBR, the number, 415-808-5627. Always appreciate everybody watching on YouTube, Twitch, and the KNBR Twitter stream as well. And, just a night that goes to show that even for a team playing out the string, and even for a team that's not going to be in the postseason in 2024, you can still have some positive nights and some nights where you look like a pretty good club and some players potentially make their case for roles on next year's team. And it was Blake Snell night, and Blake Snell got the win, and Blake Snell got a lot of run support early with the Giants getting the bats going. And so it all, at least for one night, was kind of the antithesis of what it's really been for the better part of the 2024 season. Even when the Giants have been winning games, they haven't been winning games like they've won them in this ball game tonight. So just some initial thoughts on this one. Really, it was won in the first inning, but the first and second innings with the Giants jumping out in the bottom of the first. Tyler Fitzgerald with the double. Yaz lined out to center, and then Fitzgerald went to third. Elliot Ramos walked. Chapman popped out. It looked like it was going to be one of those missed opportunity kind of nights, but with Lamont Wade up, there was the passed ball as Elliot Ramos was trying to steal second. Pass ball makes it 1-0. Wade singles in Ramos to make it 2-0. And then Gerard Encarnacion, Oppo, Taco, right field, up onto the arcade, 4-0, the wind pushing it, and the wind really a factor. The Giants taking advantage of the wind blowing out to right field in this one, and so 4-0 after the bottom of the first inning, and then in the second, the Giants able to get it going again. Blake Snell did get in a little bit of a trouble in the second inning, but able to get through it, fell behind a couple of times, including to Joey Ortiz before he walked there in that top of the second, but got Bryce Terang, just blew him away. 3 straight fastballs, inning over, Giants back up to hit, and they would add on. Patrick Bailey, nice night for Patrick Bailey, leadoff double. Brett Wisely dumps one in, it's first and third, then Tyler Fitzgerald taking advantage of that jet stream out there to plunk one off the wall in right field to score Bailey, send Wisely to third, and then Mike Yastrzemski with the 3-run homer to make it 8-0. And at that point, you thought, wow, this game really is going to turn into a laugher for the Giants, especially when you look up and Blake Snell is on the mound. Interesting night for Snell. He did fall behind some hitters. He was a little bit more hittable than we've seen him be, but he still gets through the 5 innings. It was 95 pitches, which is a lot. but 4 or 5 innings, but he worked his way through trouble when he needed to. A nice defensive game from Elliot Ramos as well. A number of nice catches out in left field, including one in the top of the 4th inning on a line drive off the bat of Rhys Hoskins. So you look at the Giants tonight, and Blake Snell made some big pitches when he had to. And I think a bounce-back effort from Blake Snell after the 42 pitches in the first inning during his last outing against San Diego, and was out of that game quickly. And so, maybe not the dominance at the level that we had seen from July up until really the end of August. There was just a 2-month reign of just complete and utter dominance. But still, 5 innings, 4 hits, a run, couple of walks, but 8 strikeouts for Blake Snell, and he ends up getting the win. And I was looking at some of the numbers that I like to look at as far as, how does a team do when a certain starting pitcher pitches? That's something I always keep tabs on. And the Giants, with the win tonight, 12-6 in 18 Blake Snell starts. And even though it's only been 18, he's vaulting his way up near the lead on the Giants team. You've got Logan Webb 15-15, Kyle Harrison. The Giants are 14-10 in his 24 starts, and Blake Snell, if the Giants can win a handful of his remaining starts, he could wind up in a battle there with Logan Webb. Obviously, you want to be better than 15-15 with Logan Webb on the hill, but the Giants are winning and have won 2 out of every 3 of Blake Snell's starts here now through 18, and it's basically been the run that he's been on here over the course of the last 2 months, with that stretch beginning on July 9. So 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Big night for Tyler Fitzgerald in this one for the Giants. 3 hits, 3 runs scored. Got his average over 300 there briefly, so good night for Tyler Fitzgerald at the plate. We mentioned Elliot Ramos and his defense. Patrick Bailey with a 3-hit game. Bailey much maligned here in the second half for his struggles, in particular in August, but he was right there in the mix in a game where the Giants pound out 17 hits. They hit the ball out of the ballpark 3 times, 33 total bases. And how about this one? For the anti-San Francisco Giants night, 7 for 15 with runners in scoring position for the Giants in this one. They were cashing everybody in. And, another night with another homer for Mike Yastrzemski as he gets to 15 home runs on the season. And Yastrzemski now... he was 2 for 4 with a homer and a double and drove 4 in. So big night for Mike Yastrzemski. Encarnacion drove in 3 with the 2-run homer. So a lot of positive performances for the Giants on this one night, as they have played a little bit better baseball here over the last week, going back to the finale of that 3-game set against the Diamondbacks and the series win against the Padres down in San Diego, as well as now splitting the first 2 with Hayden Birdsong on the mound tomorrow night at Oracle Park in the series finale. All right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. If you want to jump in and join the conversation. Question of the night, I do want to take a little bit of a bigger picture theme to this thing, and I'll just kind of throw it out there. Who has made their case for 2025? Who are the keepers among the players that are going right now for the Giants, and in what roles? So who are the keepers and in what roles? If you want to go around the horn in terms of the lineup, we can do that a little bit. If it is, guys in the bullpen, you saw Landon Root get a start last night. Has he made his case? And if so, where? That's kind of the question du jour tonight. Let's also sneak in a call here before we get to the first break of the program, as we roll here on Sportsphone KNBR on this Wednesday night. And we'll get Dennis in San Jose in here on the Sports Leader. Good evening to you, Dennis.
Yeah, I got an idea. Let's see, we got the 2 rookies in the outfield. They're real good, and we got Mike Yastrzemski. And the thing is, I'm wondering, could we trade him and get a good power hitter and maybe a pitcher with it to get him out? Because he hits like, on a good field, he might hit 20 home runs, and a great outfielder he is. But we need somebody with more home runs and a better hitter too, you know. And we have a chance to trade him. I hope Furhein's listening to this, because if they trade him, and maybe we can get a better hitter. Because we really need a hitter there. And we got the outfield. We got Lee. We got Matos. No, Matos. We got I can't think of his name. You got the one playing right field and center field.
You got Ramos and Jung-Hoo Lee's coming back. You're right about that. I think Elliot Ramos is playing left field next year. Right field as a whole, you can't trade Mike Yastrzemski because he's an arbitration eligible player. So you gotta come to some kind of a contract agreement with Mike Yastrzemski.
Well,
so
he made maybe they could do that. It would help our team out a lot if we got a home run hitter. We really need one bad. We got Chapman that's doing very well right now. He's batting 250, and he only bats like 240, but he might hit 30 home runs this year if he gets hot, you know. And he's done real well so far. So we got Chapman, but we need another power hitter. We just
they need more than one, Dennis.
We got rookie players that are playing real good. You got Fitzgerald. Man, he's got 15 home runs. He's a rookie. He's batting 300. You know, you got a lot of good rookies playing, and they're good, but we need somebody that's, you know, like when we had Bonds, man, we had guys like that, and then he had 40.
Dennis, thanks, man. Appreciate it. I mean, you're invoking Barry Bonds. I mean, Barry Bonds is not walking through that door, Dennis. I mean, jeez. But, again, Tyler Fitzgerald's made his case. I think Elliot Ramos has made his case, and that kind of relates to you can't trade Yastrzemski. But again, the issue becomes if you want to trade, if you want to move on from Yastrzemski, then that's another hole. But yet you can't keep everybody. So again, we talked about it a little bit last night, and we're kind of getting into it a little bit again here. I think, right field, you got to make a decision because Jung-Hoo Lee's coming back to play center. What do you do at first base? Is Lamont Wade Jr. a keeper? See, a lot of people really like Lamont Wade Jr. A lot of people like Yastrzemski. Some people don't like Yastrzemski. But you can't keep Yastrzemski and Lamont Wade Jr. and then say, hey, you're going to get better. Even if you're penciling in Fitzgerald and Ramos. So this team, I think, has got to get better with the bats. I think they know they have to get better with the bats, but you have some young players that are making their case. All right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's go ahead and pause here. We'll come back. We'll get to the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. We'll dive into the YouTube chat as well. But a couple of lines open as the Giants, a rare blowout victory for them, 13-2 the final over at Oracle Park. And you heard it all right here on KNBR, the sports leader. Big, fat dub.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sportsphone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Fitzgerald doubled him home. Now there's a drive down the right field line. Deep. Way back there. Goodbye! It's a 3-run homer just over the wall in right. And now it is 8-0 Giants. Yaz homers for the second night in a row here.
Yeah, Mike Yastrzemski 2 for 4 with the home run, a double, 4 driven in. And the 3-run shot there, making it 8-0 Giants in the bottom of the second. They win over the Brewers 13-2. The final pound out 17 hits. Blake Snell gets through 5 on 95 pitches, improves his record to 3-3. But Snell with 8 strikeouts and 4 hits allowed in the 5 innings of work. And Snell, now the Giants 12-6 in 18 Snell starts on the season. 808 KNBR, it's John Dickinson back here on Sportsphone KNBR, Post-Giants edition. Let's get back to the phones here, and it is a pleasure to be joined. I'm going back to my screen here. Dan in Aromas here on the Sports Leader. Hey, Dan.
Hey, I haven't seen the Giants much on TV, and I haven't gone to this year, but I listen to a lot of games on the radio. And I'm just wondering, I really haven't heard anybody say that Fitzgerald's the shortstop for the next 10 years, and I don't understand why not.
Because he's been inconsistent defensively at the position. I don't think anybody questions, Dan, his ability to hit. But I think to put it exactly how you did, the shortstop of the next 10 years, I don't think we know that yet. Now, maybe he's somebody that's a utility guy, and I don't mean a utility guy that doesn't play, but maybe he's a guy that plays a different position every day, but he's still in the lineup 6 days a week, 7 days a week because he can hit, and that's the most effective way to use him. Or maybe, and people have speculated, he ends up being a second baseman as opposed to a shortstop because the defense really has been there at times, but there's also been some mistakes as he learns playing that position at an everyday level.
Yeah, I see. I listen to a lot of games, and I haven't heard him make an error. But I understand he has a good arm, right? And he's lightning fast. I mean, what an athlete he is. So I don't know. It seems like they could teach him to play it to me.
Great athlete. He's got speed. Again, you want his bat and his energy in the lineup. I'm not saying that he's not an everyday player, but if you look around the majors, just about every team, a lot of the good ones, they have that one guy that maybe plays center field one day, maybe plays shortstop the next, maybe plays second the next, maybe one of those guys. And I think maybe that could be the best role for him. But as far as being a guy that's a leadoff hitter or somebody that's sitting at the top of the lineup, I think that part you're spot on, Dan.
Right. All right. Well, that makes sense because you can't have a shortstop booting the ball. But I just hadn't heard him make an error. So that's why.
Yeah, there have been some. No, there have been some here and there. And again, but I think the thought is, maybe the Giants go get a shortstop and he moves to second and they get an elite defensive shortstop and then you're pretty good at 2 spots at that point. So Thanks for the call.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Dan checking in here. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627 as the Giants beat the Brewers tonight 13-2. That's right. You heard me correctly. 13-2. Is the final in favor of the Giants, as it was the season high, shocking, in terms of run support for Blake Snell. 8 runs of support, now has a total of 20 runs of support at home. Entering tonight, just 12 runs of support for Blake Snell in 10 starts, and the Giants got him 8 runs of support tonight, and he made it stand up, getting through 5 innings and allowing just the 1 run there in the third with 8 strikeouts. So 808 KNBR, back to the phones we go here on Sportsphone KNBR. Fozzie in the East Bay. What's going on, Fozzie?
JD, cheers, my brother.
Yeah, cheers to you, my friend. What's on your mind tonight? We got dub season coming, brother. We got dub season coming, but the Giants are trying to play out the string here first.
You know, I'm looking forward to it, man. But I just had to call in, say what's on my mind tonight. Had a good win, so I want to check in with you. 13 runs is great. Love to see the run support for our guy Blake Snell. Hopefully we don't let him go away next year. But real quick, before I get to the outfield, just off of what you guys were just talking about with Tyler Fitzgerald, I like that idea of moving him to second and possibly getting a free agent shortstop to solidify the defense there. I think if we get Kim, that'd be nice, but, who knows. But I was calling for the outfield. I like our guys. We got Jung-Hoo Lee. And we got Matos out there. And I'm okay with sticking with McRae. I think he's shown a lot. I think his bat, it's going to get better over time. But I do like what he's doing out there in the outfield. My main concern is the infield. First base and second base is a question. So definitely want to address those. Maybe go get a guy like Pete Alonso, go swing for the fences, something like that. Or, if we want to still make sure that outfield is good, go get Juan Soto. We need a big free agent signing next year. There's some guys out there. Would love to see the Giants go do that. That's what I got, JD. Looking forward to Dubs OT. Cheers, brother.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother. Pete Alonso, I think, is somebody that you're going to hear a lot about, although the Mets have gotten hot. They are currently leading for that final wildcard spot. They've overtaken Atlanta. I don't know about Grant McRae, as well as he has performed. Can you really pencil in Ramos, Jung-Hoo Lee, and Grant McRae and say that's your outfield and believe that you're better going into the season? And look, that's no shade at Grant McRae, who's been an impactful hitter over the short time that he's been up. I mean, he's hit some homers. He plays an excellent center field. But again, I think if you're penciling Ramos in and you have Jung-Hoo Lee coming back, I think right field's a spot where you have to look to upgrade. But then Juan Soto, I don't think Juan Soto's leaving the Yankees. I think Juan Soto ultimately ends up back with the Yankees, and him and Judge have just had an unbelievable 1-2 punch tandem year in the Bronx, and so I think that's the spot where I'll even say this, and people aren't going to maybe necessarily agree. I would feel better for a full season with Mike Yastrzemski over Grant McRae, who's still learning how to be a big leaguer as much as Correa's been impactful. So I don't think you could go. And look, I don't know what McRae's role is on next year's team. I think there is going to be a role. He might be kind of a swing guy that's up and down from the minors to the majors and or a depth piece. Maybe the first guy up and gets into the lineup if there's some kind of injury. But I think as you look at it for 2025 now, I think if you're the Giants, it's right field. It's what do you do at first base? You got a decision to make on Yastrzemski. Ha-Sung Kim is the name that comes up all the time because he's buddies with Jung-Hoo Lee, and he's 28 right now. Ha-Sung Kim, and played for Melvin with the Padres there for a couple of years, and so I mean he's somebody that could really solidify the shortstop position for the Giants. Maybe you move Tyler Fitzgerald around, but you get his bat in the lineup every day, and you're better for it at two spots. If he ends up being a second baseman, you're better at second, and you're better for having Ha-Sung Kim be the guy that's at shortstop. But that still leaves first base. It still leaves the outfield and right field in particular with Jung-Hoo Lee coming back, and it still leaves the DH spot to be able to look to make some changes. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Who are the keepers for next year? Who's made their case and at what positions? Blake Snell's made a hell of a case, but he's going to be difficult, I think, for the Giants to be able to keep at this point. And, man, that's going to be a tough decision if they wind up playing it out with him for the last couple of months and he winds up leaving. That will be tough when they could have traded him after he got going there for 3 weeks leading up to the deadline. And you look at what's become of this Giants team. And, look, Snell's been fun to watch and dominant through August, and he was pretty good tonight. But I do think if the Giants cannot keep Blake Snell and he signs elsewhere, the fact that the Giants didn't trade him winds up becoming a mistake and a pretty major one on the report card of Farhan Zaidi as he gets evaluated as to whether or not he's going to keep his job into 2025. So we'll pause here. We'll come back. We've got the great Greg Silver in our San Francisco studios as well. We'll chop it up a little bit with Greg, but the Giants get the win. Rare blowout. Beat the Brewers 13-2. It's John Dickinson here on Sportsphone KNBR on a Wednesday night on the Sports Leader.
This is where we feed the faithful. Sportsphone, KNBR. Streaming live at twitch.tv/the Sports Leader.
The 1-0 pitch. Swing, and there's a high drive to right. Drifting back on it, Frelick, and the warning track at the wall, and he looks up, and he goes! Pelota! Just a high fly ball to right, and it would not come down. The opposite field home run for Gerard Encarnacion, and now it's a 4-run first inning for the Giants.
Yeah, some big-time opposite field pop for Gerard Encarnacion. Got the ball up into that jet stream and put it onto the arcade, which is rare to see a right-handed hitter do that. Giants beat the Brewers 13-2. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Post-game sports phone edition here. It's John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR, Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line is open as well, as the Giants continue to show, even with 16 games to go, that they're and a team out of the race, you can still have a hot night here and there. And with the Giants having Blake Snell on the mound, they broke out the bats in a way that they hadn't at any point this season. In particular for him, pretty jarring looking at those numbers that we mentioned before we had Fozzie on the phone lines with the 12 runs of support and 10 starts for Blake Snell, and then they get 8. Isn't that the way it always tends to work out? They get 8 in the first 2 innings for Snell. How about this note on Blake Snell, who did, as I mentioned earlier, 5 innings, 4 hits, a couple of walks, 8 strikeouts, got out of a bases-loaded jam and has not allowed a hit with the bases loaded this season. 7 at-bats, and Snell, a 127 opponent batting average with the bases loaded since 2016, which is the lowest in the majors among pitchers who have faced 70 hitters at that point. So, I mean, always working in traffic. At times, command can be an issue, and he's walking guys. But Snell able to typically get out of the jams, and nobody with a hit against Snell this season with the bases loaded. And Snell, 3 up, 3 down in that first inning, in a little trouble in that second inning. It was the Gary Sanchez single and then the 2-out Hoskins walk. He fell behind a couple of hitters. Joey Ortiz walked, and then with the bases loaded, he just blew Terang away. I mean, fastball. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. See you later. Back to the dugout. And then the Giants really jumped on Colin Ray in this one tonight as well, to the tune of, Ray, and they left Ray hanging. The Brewers did in this one, as he ended up allowing 10 earned runs. 10 earned runs allowed for Colin Ray in this one, as Ray ended up with 4 innings of work, dropped to 12-5. And, Colin Ray just getting peppered by the Giants. 11 of their 17 hits against Colin Ray. Big-time offensive performances. Mike Yastrzemski driving in 4 with a couple of hits, a double and a homer. Tyler Fitzgerald, 3 hits, 3 runs scored in this one. Encarnacion, we played the home run. He drove in 3, a couple on the home run, had another hit. And Patrick Bailey, a much-needed Patrick Bailey 3 for 4 night with a run scored on a night where the offense was clicking, and the Giants even the series, and they've won 4 of their last 6, but still all but mathematically eliminated in that NL wildcard race here with the 16 games that are remaining at 72 and 74. The Giants find themselves behind the Cardinals, behind the Cubs, behind the Braves. Those are the 3 teams that are still on the outside looking in. And the Mets now, who have possession of that final wild card in the National League. 80 and 66 for the Mets. They've won 8 of their last 10. And the Braves are on the outside looking in. But the Giants, all told, 8 out now with 16 games to play, so it is only a matter of time. They could be eliminated here at some point coming up in the next week plus. All right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's go ahead and pause here again. We do have a couple of lines open. We'll get to a couple of text messages as well that I was lagged in getting to as the Giants get the big win. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Sportsphone KNBR keeps rolling live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Very somberly before the game. Now here's a drive in the deep right field toward the corner. That one is way back there and is off the bricks, and it ricochets out into shallow right center field. Bailey scores from third. Going to third is Wisely, and into second with a double is Tyler Fitzgerald. 5-0 Giants.
Yeah, big night for Tyler Fitzgerald. Big night for the Giants offense. They beat the Brewers 13-2. Fitzgerald 3 for 5, 3 homers. Drove in a run there. Now up to 297 with an 884 OPS. John Miller on the call there, right here on KNBR, the sports leader. It's John Dickinson back here. Sportsphone KNBR on a Wednesday night post-Giants game edition. All right, we're going to get back to the phones in just a moment. We're also going to bring in the great Greg Silver here at some point. We're going to kind of go around the horn. We'll get Greg's keepers among the players that are still on the Giants roster who's made their case for 2025. But I do want to get to a couple of things here on the text line, the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. We'll get to Chardall. 408. Forget Alonso. I mentioned Pete Alonso. Sign Vlad Jr. He's 25. Yeah, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the guy that I think Giants fans have circled for that first base DH combo slot. And so we'll see. But I think Pete Alonso is somebody. I mean, if the Mets are in the position that the Mets are in, where they make the postseason, are they going to be more inclined to look to keep Pete Alonso? Rhys Hoskins is another guy who's got an early termination option on his contract. So I kind of wonder about Rhys Hoskins. I thought Rhys Hoskins was somebody being from Sacramento, going to Sacramento State and Jesuit High School in Carmichael. I thought he would have been somebody that would have made a lot of sense, but the Giants kind of hitched their wagon to Lamont Wade Jr. continuing to play some first base. They got to get a power threat at first base, no matter who it is, and we'll see if Hoskins ends up not opting out of his deal and or if the Brewers would potentially look to sign him. So I think those are three names at the first base spot. 747, Giants management is silly. I would have traded Snell and Duvall before the trade deadline. I think Duvall's value was plummeting even before the trade deadline, but with that blow-up in Washington in that first week of August, it completely crazy. I mean, and if anything, the Giants have kind of dodged one on Duvall because they were negotiating a long-term contract extension with him and never quite got to it. I think there was a report that Duvall had turned him down on a deal. And wow, the Giants look up, that's money, well not spent for them as it relates to Duvall. And I think the Giants now would probably look to move off of him if they could find a deal, but the value has plummeted. So the Snell thing is a no-brainer. If the Giants wind up losing Blake Snell after they kept him for the final 2 months of the year, that's a major fail. I mean, there's no other way around it. As much as it's been a pleasure to watch him pitch every fifth day, and as dominant as he was, and the August was an all-time month for a pitcher with the no-hitter and some of the numbers, I mean, just ridiculous for Blake Snell. So it was fun to watch, but if he winds up with Seattle or with the Padres again or somewhere else, I think that goes in the logbook as a fail, considering the fact that the Giants were out of the race by Labor Day. Also, 747 adding, did the callers mention Juan Soto? He hates the West Coast. No need getting our hopes up like we did with Ohtani. That from Mason. Appreciate Mason checking in. Yeah, I don't think Juan Soto is leaving the Yankees. 808 KNBR, back to the phones we go. Let's get Chardall in Fremont next here on the Sports Leader. Hey, Chardall.
Hey, JD, it's great. I'm a big fan of you. I'm a big fan of Sportsphone. I try and watch it every day. I try and tune into it on YouTube.
Awesome.
I was really elated with this Giants win. I mean, this was a big win for the Giants. This was probably a really great win, and I'm happy that they got it. They won by a score of 13-2 against the Brewers. I think this was a statement win for the Giants. I think that they were trying to make a statement tonight after getting this victory. As a Giants fan, it absolutely brings joy to me because I try and get to as many games at Oracle Park as I can. Maybe like 5 or 6 games, depending on if my schedule doesn't allow me to go to the ballpark. But this is a great win, and if the Giants want to take 2 out of 3 from the Brewers, they gotta repeat the same performance. The next, I believe they play them tomorrow. I believe
tomorrow night at 6:45, and Hayden Birdsong against Frankie Montas. I don't know if they're scoring 13 tomorrow, Shardal. I think I'm going to take the under on 13.
JD, so what are your thoughts if the Giants want to take 2 out of 3 from the Brewers? What are some tips that you would give to the team as a whole if they want to come into Oracle Park tomorrow and take down this impressive Milwaukee Brewers baseball team? Because they are a very impressive team, and they can be very dangerous if you let this team loose a little bit. This team can put up some immense amount of damage.
Well, yeah, they're going to the playoffs. I mean, yeah, Shardal, I mean, thank you for the call. I mean, yeah, the Brewers are going to win the National League Central at 83-62 right now. I mean, they've got a big-time lead. I mean, that they are, at this point, fighting and right now they're third. The difference between the third best team in the NL and in terms of division winners and second is the top 2 get buys, and it's looking like the Phillies and Dodgers are going to be the 2 that get the buys, and they're battling for the top spot in terms of who would have home field if those 2 teams play in the National League Championship Series. Now, that being said, the 6th seed has gone to the World Series in each of the first 2 years of having 6 seeds in each league. So, go back to the Phillies a couple of years ago and the Diamondbacks, that extra team that never would have even made the playoffs in the history of baseball as the 6th team has gone to the World Series 2 for 2 in 2 years. So the Mets are that team that's kind of riding high on that note now as the team that holds that. But no, the Brewers are a very good team. Look, score early. I mean, the Giants score late, but they don't score early. And so, I mean, the ability to get 4 in the first, 4 in the second. They took advantage, I think, of the jet stream and the wind pattern at Oracle Park tonight and plunk some balls out to right field that carried, and they got on the board. And they also caught a break with the passed ball in the first inning when it looked like it was going to be another one of those really frustrating innings with the bases loaded, and just couldn't get the big hit. You got runners at first and third, and Chapman pops out. But then the passed ball allowed the first run to score. Then that takes a little pressure off Wade. Wade gets a hit, and then Encarnacion pops one onto the arcade, and all of a sudden it's 4-0, and that relaxes everybody, especially when you've got the guy who's been the most dominant starting pitcher the Giants have had, especially over the last 2 months, and Blake Snell on the mound. So score early. And look, Hayden Birdsong's going to have to figure it out as well. And figure out his command, and he's somebody that kind of burst onto the scene and had a lot of real good numbers early in his Giants tenure, and of late, really going back to the beginning of August. I mean, you look at the game log. I mean, he's given up 7, 5 another time. He's not getting deep into these games. He's a lot of walks for Hayden Birdsong, even in his last start against Arizona. 5 walks, 4 walks before that, 4 walks the game before that. Just too many walks for Hayden Birdsong, really, in the last 6 starts going back to the beginning of August. He had been limiting the walks, keeping the walks more to 2, 3, and 5, 6 innings. Now it's been 5 and 3 innings and 4 and 3 2/3 and way too many walks. for Hayden Birdsong, which has been problematic, and he's also been giving up the long ball a little bit more frequently than he did, at least initially. So those would be the things that I would look at as far as they relate to tomorrow. All right, let's go ahead and pause here again. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. We'll come back. We'll get Greg Silver's keepers, and we'll dive into the YouTube chat as well, a Dubs OT tradition that we'll bring to Sportsphone post-Giants game edition here. Really getting into that YouTube chat. I see some familiar names in there as well, so we'll give some shout-outs there. 808 KNBR, if you want to talk some 49ers here in the last 25 minutes or so of the program, we can do that, as it is KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Call Greg. That's a better idea.
Dub Nation. Dial the digits and dive in. 415-808-KNBR. Sports Phone KNBR continues right here and on the all-new KNBR app.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously what we want to see, and I feel like everyone kind of mentions it, but hitting, pitching, fielding, I feel like it's always contagious. So kind of when you scuffle a little bit through some games as a team, I think it just puts pressure on everybody. But I feel like when everyone just kind of sticks to an approach, I feel like which is what we did really well tonight, and execute that. And sometimes it leads to hits, sometimes it doesn't. But you put up quality at bat after quality at bat, you're usually going to have good results, and that's what we got tonight.
All right, better approach. Patrick Bailey, 3-hit game for him. That was a post-game on NBC Sports Bay Area as the Giants beat the Brewers 13-2. They have evened the 3-game series against Milwaukee. Milwaukee going to the postseason with a big lead in the National League Central. Back here on Sportsphone, KNBR here on a Wednesday night. And I'll be back with you tomorrow as well following the Giants and the Brewers. 3 consecutive night games for the Giants at home for the first time. Got to go all the way back to May when they had the 3-game series against the Dodgers there in the middle of May when the Giants had that. And so I will be back with you tomorrow in this same time slot after heading to 49er practice. Again, was down in Santa Clara, off to Minneapolis this weekend, covering the 49ers and the Vikings. And we bring in the great Greg Silver now here. And Greg, I do want to get your... I do want to get, thanks, Papa. I do want to get your keepers for the 2025 Giants and basically ask you the question we asked at the top of the show, who has made their case for 2025 and where. But I do want to ask you also, because you played the promo, we were talking about this during the break, did you know what a Juicy Lucy was before you played that promo? Or before you heard that promo earlier in the day?
I didn't. I'm ashamed to say that I didn't, because I like to think that if I was in the chair of young Tony, there wouldn't be a "What did young Greg learn today?" quite at the same rate as young
kind
Tony.
Of an old soul. You're kind of an old soul for a guy that's, 25, barely?
Yeah, 25. So I'm a little bit of an old man, which, has its pros and cons. I like to think it's got its pros. So I didn't know what a Juicy Lucy was. I've never been to Minnesota. I don't know if that kind of exonerates me in some way, but sounds fantastic.
I've been to Minnesota. I've been to Minnesota once for I was there last year covering the Monday night game, and it was the night before the Warriors season started. I was still in my prior radio life, and I literally spent 20 hours there. I went from they were playing a Monday night game. I had a red eye Sunday night. I got in, covered the game, early flight back out, was back in the Bay, I think, by noon, and the Warriors were starting the season the day after, the night after that game. So I spent about 20 hours in Minneapolis, didn't really get a chance to do much, and only had otherwise been in the airport twice on connecting flights from San Francisco to Philadelphia. So both the times that the Niners played in Philadelphia, the championship game and the game last year, I went through Minnesota to get there from SFO. And so I've had a couple of really good breakfasts in the Minnesota airport at 6:00 before hopping on a flight to Philadelphia. But Juicy, it all came full circle for me. I remember there was a conversation during the 2022 playoffs, I believe, or it might have been. It was the 2023 playoffs. About no, it was the 2022 playoffs when Memphis was playing. Memphis ultimately played the Warriors, Greg, and they were playing Minnesota in the first round of that playoff, I believe. And there was that series kind of went deep. And there was a debate among Warrior reporters about Memphis versus Minnesota. And I remember Madeline Kenny, who ended up going to Michigan, and I think she's Detroit Free Press, but when she's covering Michigan State, she mentioned the Juicy Lucy to the group, and I'm like, what is that? And she explained it like Papa explained it, I'm like, oh yeah, that would be awesome. Like I would love to end up getting a Juicy Lucy. And then I totally our buddy Jimmy from Harmonic Brewing over in Thrive City. We appreciate Jimmy. And yeah, poor Kolsch for Jimmy. And Jimmy's from Minneapolis. So Jimmy knows everybody in Minneapolis. And I went in and I popped in and said, what's up to Jimmy? As we're getting closer to the season and Dubs OT and looking forward to being back out there at Harmonic again this season, Greg. And so Jimmy made a couple of recommendations. And of course, Jimmy knows everybody in terms of, brewery managers and owners and go to this place and don't go to that place. And so Jimmy gave a couple of recommendations. And then today, Jimmy heard Papa talking about going to Matt's Bar, I think is the name of the place, and getting a Juicy Lucy. So it's all come full circle as I just lay out my weekend in Minneapolis as Greg's going to be back here in the Bay. Sorry, bro.
That's okay. If you're going to be stuck somewhere, this is not a bad place to be stuck.
I'm just going to drink beer, eat pizza, and dirty burgers all day Saturday. What? In Minneapolis.
These are all things that I can do here in the Bay Area. I just might have to get a little creative with the burgers. But, Gabe Kapler seemed to do just fine finding the best burger in San Francisco.
Well, you got to go out to Geyerville, right? You got to go up to. Anyway, I digress. But no, it's looking forward to a fun weekend in Minneapolis, and then going to be doing the show with Copes on Monday. From Minneapolis as well after the 49ers play the Vikings in what will be a morning game out here, a noon start in the Central Time Zone in Minneapolis. So 808 KNBR. Greg, we're going to get your picks. I don't want to make Bruce wait, though. Bruce is on the phone lines down in San Jose, so I want to sneak Bruce in before our final break of the evening. And then we'll get Greg's keepers for 2025. But, Bruce, thank you for calling in, and thank you for hanging with us there as we got into Juicy Lucy's and good breweries in downtown Minneapolis.
Appreciate you guys taking the call. Appreciate the familiar voices. I've tried to do the Juicy Lucy myself on the barbecue, and it takes perfection. Right. So yeah, exactly. You got to have someone else. Yeah, you got to have anyway.
A pro.
They're tasty, but I've tried and I can't do it.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. I don't think I could do it either, man. Because here's the thing: the one thing I don't have, Bruce, when it comes to grilling, I just don't have patience. Like I get excited, I start wanting to eat everything. You're probably having a beer or a cocktail, and it's you just lose all patience for it.
I guess it comes with experience, you have to have patience. I guess, you got to have time the charcoal's right. You got to pace yourself on whatever liquid you're going to be imbibing with.
Totally.
And then you got to be comfortable with, protein. Like the chicken's easier, but like a tri-tip, you got to watch. You got to watch what you're cooking, right? I guess more or less.
Yeah, no question. I love a good tri-tip. Love a tri-tip, Bruce. Now you're speaking my language, man. 45 minutes. That's all you need. First 5 minutes. Exactly. 5 minutes, one side direct heat. 5 minutes, the other side direct heat. So you got 10, and then the rest indirect heat, and you're good to go. I love the food talk. But what I think, what I really called in, sure,
we cannot let Blake Snell hit the open market. I mean, we got to overpay for a pitcher. We did it before. Why can't we do it with him? I don't want to see him on another team.
No, I think it's everybody's kind of in a different spot in terms of these Boris clients, and I think Chapman had performed so well as a hitter. And Chapman went to Boris basically and said, look, dude, I want to be here, so let's figure it out. And I think Snell, well, he may very well want to be here, and I do believe him when he spoke complimentary about, the Bay Area. And he said, that the whole, San Francisco thing comes up, and he's like, well, I live in the suburbs anyway, no matter where he's played. He's like, I've always lived in the suburbs. I kind of like having a little more space. So that didn't affect him. And so he I think he likes the Bay. but I think he's not as married to I have to be here as much as I have to make sure that I get that best deal possible, in free agency. So I don't think they're going to let it go to March, but I do think they're going to let it get to where he has a strong finish and see who ends up maybe coming up short in the playoffs and who really wants him. I also think he might be holding out, Bruce, for Seattle because that is his hometown area. And, they've had a lot of good pitching, but I wonder if Seattle has the potential to pay him a number to where he wants to go home. That would be my one concern.
No, I mean, that makes total sense. And, like, the Giants' lack of hitting, I mean, his record, the pitching record was like 2-3 or 3-2. Like, the Giants have a lot of needs, and he's one of them. I hope we keep him, but that's a very, very good point. I didn't really consider Seattle. I know he's from there, but yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate the time, guys, and have a good night.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. No, appreciate it, man, and appreciate you indulging on the food talk here late at night on a Wednesday. All right, let's go ahead and take our final break. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap things up here on a Wednesday as the Giants. Good night for them. They beat the Brewers 13-2, and you heard it right here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
The nighttime is the right time for Sportsphone KNBR. Let's go on the sports leader. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
The pitch, swing. There's a high drive, deep right center field, way back, and off the brakes, out toward Triples Alley. The ricochets over to the center fielder Perkins. Scoring is Matos, and Luciano has a double and a run batted in. 12-2 Giants.
All right, Giants going to win it 13-2. Back here on Sportsphone KNBR. Final segment. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. I do want to get into the YouTube chat. A lot of familiar names. Rockin' New Era 84, friend of the program. Appreciate that. Lance Malone, Rick checking in as well. Appreciate all the kind words there. And, appreciate everybody chiming in on Minneapolis. Yeah, Minneapolis does sound fun. Lance Malone. Patrick Bailey, Fozzie, seems like he's got a second wind a little bit. Fozzie shouting out Greg Silver. I am going to talk a little bit tomorrow night, a little bit more, maybe in the back part of the show, about previewing the 49er-Vikings game. And those two teams did play each other in Minneapolis last year, that Monday night game in October. And so we'll get into that a little bit more tomorrow night after I get down to Levi's and practice in the afternoon tomorrow. And, everybody talked today, really, with the exception of Brock Purdy, who's going to talk tomorrow. But it was, Kittle today and Christian McCaffrey talking about his injury, saying his mentality still is to play in every game. We'll see. I think they're holding them out the next couple of games. But, no, I appreciate everybody chiming in tonight on the YouTube chat as well, as we try to continue to grow that, especially much for the Dubs OT season, which is coming up as well. And Rick chiming in, hard to travel back east on a short week. Minnesota defense is not that great. Last year, Debo and Trent were out. And, Debo and Trent were out, and Brock Purdy got banged up on a quarterback sneak in that game and then didn't look right toward the end of the game. There was some question as to whether maybe he had a concussion or not. It turned out that he didn't. And then Christian McCaffrey also fumbled in that game as well, and he was banged up and looked less than 100%, and the Niners still had a chance to win it late. But ultimately the Vikings prevailed, and it was one of the 4 49er losses for the 2023 season. So, looking forward to getting back to Minneapolis and having the opportunity to spend a little more time in Minneapolis than the 20 hours or so that I had back in October. All right, Greg, we've been teasing this, and we kind of went around the horn a little bit. Let's do it quickly here. Where are you? I mean, Patrick Bailey's the catcher for next year. Does he need to get in better condition? Does he need to maybe get stronger and have the ability to finish a full season? I would say yes, and finish a full season playing at a higher level. Do they have to supplement his spot with another guy that can maybe come in and play a little bit more frequently to where there isn't a big drop-off when he's out? I think that's part of it, but as we bring you back in here, Greg, I mean, Patrick Bailey's a keeper for you, right, in 2025?
Yeah, Patrick Bailey's definitely a keeper. I think my focus in this whole exercise is thinking about getting some kind of offense, because you have two players in this starting lineup who are going to be in the lineup because of elite defensive play, and that's Patrick Bailey and that's Matt Chapman, and Chapman is obviously here to stay with that 6-year, $151 million extension. But Chapman has had moments where he really struggles to hit the ball, and Patrick Bailey for 2 years in a row now can't hit after the All-Star break. And yes, I know he did it tonight, and that was great to see. I'm not always rooting for Patrick Bailey to put the ball on the bat, and I don't know if switch hitting, if he's just going to have to stick to one side and keep it that way, is a good fix for this. But yeah, the defense for them is at such a high level to where they are going to play, but you got to find a way to compensate for that on the other side too. So I look at a Tyler Fitzgerald and I think, you know what? I don't know if he is your shortstop, but he has hit the ball well enough here since Nick Ahmed got DFA'd and he's been given the chance, to where I think you do keep him on the roster. Luciano is not an infielder by any stretch at this point, but could you keep him around as a DH? I'm saying maybe, not as a starter, but I'm okay with that to see if can he offer you something as a bat when a lot of this team can't. Wisely, it's been disappointing to see the drop-off. I was at the game where he had the walk-off homer against the Dodgers, so it did give me a great memory this season, but I'm not so... I'm a little on Wisely. Casey Schmidt, nah.
No.
Luis Matos, Ramos has earned a spot as the left fielder, and Jung-Hoo Lee, I know we've talked about this. I don't even know if Jung-Hoo Lee is going to be a consistent bat, but so let's just say...
They paid him. He's going to be healthy.
You
hope he is.
Is there going to be a real reality where you got 3 players who are very high level to elite defensively that can have some really rough spells offensively? That's a third of your batting lineup.
Well, that makes it difficult. That's where, the short answer is you can if you're good enough at the other positions to carry it. And the Giants are not good enough to carry that now. And so that means, if Tyler Fitzgerald's going to play short, then you got to upgrade second base. If he's going to play second base, then you got to upgrade short. It also means you got to upgrade first base, right field, and the DH spot with big-time production. And, borderline, to me, you have to go get an all-star at one of those spots, and you really have to get 3 guys that can play and can contribute, at each of those spots. So, Jung-Hoo Lee, Ramos, I'm with you on Wisely. He's not in the plans. Schmidt's not in the plans. I think Luciano is talented. He's not in the same category as Schmidt or Wisely or Matos. I think those guys are gone.
Yeah, and to clarify, as 559 chimes in on the text line saying Wisely is better than Luciano all day, I do agree with that. I'm not saying otherwise, but I think with Luciano, I'm not saying you just shut the door on the potential with what he could be as a bat in a DH slot. Whereas Wisely, I'm like, well, you probably got to put him in the field, and then it's like, I don't know. That's an uninspiring answer to a team that can pitch and play really good defense, mostly at home. And then on the road, it's like you just get caught in these situations where you can't hit any aces or any starting pitcher for the first 6 innings, and then maybe you make a late push, but that's not a recipe for a above 500 team like we've seen this year.
No, it's definitely not. And look, it's not that Luciano isn't talented or can't ultimately eventually be a player. For me, it's more you cannot count on him at any position. And so he may wind up being somebody that helps you next year, but as far as your plan, you cannot plan on Marco Luciano to be a position X, Y, or Z on the field and somebody that's going to hit in the lineup. He may wind up being somebody that can help. It's kind of like Grant McCray, who's done more than Luciano, obviously, but I think Grant McCray is kind of in a similar position in that you like what he's brought to the table. He probably needs a little bit more consistency in the minor leagues. It's not that he hasn't been productive, but are you really going to lean in on Grant McCray to be an everyday player and say that's an upgrade over Mike Yastrzemski even? Because it wouldn't be, because Grant McCray hasn't proven that he can do it over 162, and the Giants are not going to be in a position where they can look at Grant McCray and say, hey, we're going to give you a chance to do it over 162, because they got to be, especially if Farhan Zaidi returns next year, they got to be really good. They got to make, we've talked about Farhan all year, Greg. If Farhan comes back, if he's granted one more year, they have to make the playoffs.
107 wins?
They cannot be the team that they've been this year, last year, or the year before. It cannot be a different version of the same. They have to be an 85, 88 win team, and if they don't make the playoffs, it's because you needed 89 or 90. This is the absolute last chance if they grant him that chance into 2025, which I still think remains to be seen here over the next 3 weeks. So good stuff, Greg. Really appreciate you, my man. Always good to catch up. And, that dub season is just around the corner. Under 3 weeks now till their first training camp practice.
You know how fired up I am that we actually can prepare for a dub season? I mean, I had a blast last year with you, my guy. We had some amazing shows, and the YouTube chat and our listeners and our Dubs devotees made it one hell of a year, but we were just building that thing on the fly, hit the ground at full speed on the on-ramp. I'm just glad that we can, take a slight deep breath as we get ready for the season. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, and really looking forward to that. But still, obviously, full bore into the 49ers season. We'll talk more about the Niners tomorrow and wrapping up the final just under 3 weeks, really closer to 2.5 weeks now remaining in this season for the Giants. And they'll be back at it in the rubber match against the Brewers coming up tomorrow. Of course, you can hear it right here on KNBR. So that'll do it for Greg Silver, for Casey Copeland, for Overnight Dave. Appreciate everybody in our San Francisco studios. I'm John Dickinson. Back tomorrow, Giants and the Brewers, and then Sportsphone KNBR post-Giants game edition as well. We'll get into some Niners, a little preview of the matchup against the Vikings before the Niners travel to Minneapolis. We'll get to that, but thanks to everybody, and we'll talk to you tomorrow right here on KNBR 104.5 and 680.